There was a time when respect in martial arts meant everything. Masters trained myths at decades.
There was a time when respect in martial arts meant everything. Masters trained for decades, perfecting their craft with honor and discipline. But in 1964, something happened in Oakland, California, that shook the martial arts world to its core. An old man walked into Bruce Lee's school. He had white hair, withered hands, and eyes as cold as winter steel. The students stopped their practice and stared. This wasn't just any visitor. This was Master Wong, a kung fu master who hadn't lost a fight in 10 years. He pointed one finger at Bruce Lee and said, "You shame our traditions with your teachings. Today, you will pay the price." But in just 3 minutes, that undefeated master was on the ground, defeated by a single strike that would change martial arts history forever. Before we dive into this incredible story, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss stories like this one. Now, let's see what happened that day. Bruce Lee was only 24 years old in 1964. He had recently opened a small martial arts school on Broadway Street in Oakland. The sign outside read Junfan Kung Fu Institute, a humble name for what would become a revolutionary place in martial arts history. Bruce was different from other kung fu masters. While traditional teachers kept their secrets hidden, teaching only Chinese students, Bruce welcomed everyone. Black students, white students, Hispanic students, it didn't matter. If you wanted to learn, Bruce would teach you. His philosophy was simple. Martial arts should unite people, not divide them. But this philosophy made him enemies. In San Francisco's Chinatown, just across the bay, the traditional kung fu masters were furious. They met in secret, discussing what they called Bruce Lee's betrayal of Chinese culture. These were old men who had spent their entire lives protecting ancient traditions. They believed kung fu secrets should stay within the Chinese community, passed down only to worthy Chinese students. The most vocal among them was Master Wong Jack Man. At 58 years old, Wong was a respected figure in the kung fu community. He had studied in Hong Kong under famous masters. His specialty was Northern Shaolin Kung Fu, a style known for its long-range strikes and powerful kicks. For 10 years, Wong had challenged fighters across California, and for 10 years, no one had beaten him. Wong was tall and thin, with movements as fluid as water. His students described him as calm and methodical, never showing emotion during fights. But beneath that calm surface, Wong harbored deep resentment toward Bruce Lee. "This young man is destroying everything our ancestors built," Wong told his fellow masters one evening. "He teaches our sacred techniques to foreigners for money. He makes martial arts into a business, not a way of life." The other masters nodded in agreement. Someone had to stop Bruce Lee. Someone had to defend tradition. Wong decided he would be that someone. On a cold November afternoon, Wong gathered 5 of his senior students. They drove across the Bay Bridge from San Francisco to Oakland. The streets were wet from morning rain, and fallen leaves covered the sidewalks, a typical autumn day in Northern California. They found Bruce's school on the 2nd floor of an old building. The stairs creaked as they climbed. Wong's students exchanged nervous glances, but Wong's face remained stone cold, showing no emotion. Inside the school, Bruce was teaching a class. About 15 students were practicing forms, slow, controlled movements designed to build muscle memory. The room smelled of sweat and worn leather training equipment. Wooden dummies stood in the corners, their surfaces smooth from years of strikes. When Wong walked through the door, the energy in the room changed instantly. Bruce stopped mid-instruction. He recognized Wong immediately. Everyone in the martial arts community knew who he was. But Bruce didn't show fear or surprise. He simply walked forward, his small frame moving with cat-like grace. "Master Wong," Bruce said respectfully, bowing slightly. "What brings you to my school?" Wong didn't return the bow. Instead, he pulled out a piece of paper from his jacket, a formal challenge letter, written in Chinese characters. His voice was cold and deliberate. "Bruce Lee, you have violated the sacred traditions of Chinese martial arts. You teach our secrets to outsiders. You dishonor our ancestors. I am here to stop you." The students in the room gasped. Even in 1964, formal challenge matches were rare. They belonged to old stories, not modern America. Bruce took the letter and read it carefully. His wife, Linda, who was sitting in the corner, stood up, her face pale with worry. She knew what this meant. If Bruce refused the challenge, he would lose face in the martial arts community. If he accepted and lost, he would have to close the school and stop teaching non-Chinese students. These are the terms, Wong continued, pointing at the paper. If you lose, you close the school. You stop teaching foreigners. You show proper respect to tradition. Bruce looked at the letter, then at Wong, then at his students watching with worried eyes. He thought about everything he had built, not just the school, but the philosophy behind it. He believed martial arts could bridge cultures, not separate them. He believed knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. Finally, Bruce folded the letter carefully and handed it back to Wong. I accept your challenge, he said quietly. But when I win, you leave my school alone. You let me teach whoever wants to learn. Wong's eyes flashed with something, anger, perhaps, or satisfaction that his trap had worked. Agreed, Wong said. We fight now. No rules. The fight ends when someone cannot continue. The students quickly cleared the center of the room, pushing equipment against the walls. This wasn't going to be a sport match with referees and safety gear. This was going to be a real fight, the kind that could leave someone seriously hurt. The two men faced each other in the center of the small room. Bruce, at 5 feet 7 inches and 140 pounds, looked tiny compared to Wong's 6-foot frame and longer reach. But anyone who knew martial arts could see the difference in how they carried themselves. Wong stood in a traditional northern Shaolin stance, feet wide apart, hands raised in a defensive position. His breathing was controlled, methodical. He had fought this way for 30 years, and it had never failed him. Bruce stood differently. His stance was unusual, 1 foot forward, hands loose at his sides, body turned slightly. It looked almost casual, like he wasn't even ready to fight. But his eyes were completely focused, watching Wong's every micro-movement. Begin, someone whispered. Wong attacked first, launching a series of traditional kung fu strikes, straight punches mixed with circular movements, exactly as he had been taught decades ago in Hong Kong. His techniques were textbook perfect, the kind of movements that would earn applause in a demonstration. But something was wrong. Bruce wasn't there. Every time Wong's fist reached the spot where Bruce had been standing, Bruce had already moved. He flowed around the attacks like smoke, never blocking, never meeting force with force. He simply wasn't where Wong expected him to be. Wong's frustration began to show. He increased his speed, throwing combinations faster and harder. His students had seen this before, Wong's legendary speed that had defeated so many opponents. Surely Bruce couldn't dodge forever. But Bruce did more than dodge. He began to counter. Each time Wong committed to an attack, Bruce would slip to the side and tap Wong with a quick strike. Not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to score a point. A tap to the ribs. A light strike to the shoulder. A quick jab that barely touched Wong's face. Stop playing around and fight. Wong shouted, his calm demeanor cracking for the first time. Linda covered her mouth with her hands, watching her young husband face this dangerous opponent. The student stood frozen, barely breathing. What none of them understood, what Wong himself didn't understand, was that Bruce wasn't being arrogant. He was studying. Every movement Wong made, Bruce analyzed. Every technique, every habit, every pattern. Bruce was reading Wong like a book, waiting for the perfect moment. Wong launched another attack, this time a high kick aimed at Bruce's head. It was a beautiful technique, the kind that took years to perfect. Wong's leg shot up with impressive flexibility for a 58-year-old man. But Bruce saw it coming a full second before it happened. He saw Wong shift his weight to his left foot. He saw the slight tension in Wong's hip muscles. He saw the telegraph in Wong's eyes. And in that split second of awareness, Bruce made his decision. Instead of backing away or blocking, Bruce stepped forward, directly into Wong's attack zone. It was the one move Wong didn't expect. It violated every rule of traditional combat. Time seemed to slow down. Wong's kick was already committed, his body off balance. Bruce's right hand shot out in a straight line. Not a traditional punch, but something new. Something Bruce had been developing. It was a strike that combined Western boxing speed with Chinese martial arts precision. The sound that followed was sharp and sudden, like a whip cracking. Bruce's fist connected with Wong's chest, right over his sternum. It wasn't a wild haymaker or a showy technique. It was a single, perfectly placed strike, delivered with devastating efficiency. Wong's eyes went wide. His kick stopped mid-motion. His entire body seemed to freeze for a fraction of a second before he stumbled backward, gasping for air. Bruce had struck him using what he would later call the one-inch punch, a technique that generated maximum power for minimum distance. But it wasn't just the physical technique that made it effective. It was timing, precision, and an understanding of body mechanics that went beyond traditional training. Wong tried to recover his stance, but his legs weren't responding properly. He took 2 more steps backward, his face turning red as he struggled to catch his breath. His students rushed forward to support him, but Wong waved them away with his hand, too proud to accept help. For 10 seconds, the room was completely silent except for Wong's labored breathing. Finally, Wong looked up at Bruce. The coldness in his eyes had been replaced by something else: shock, confusion, and perhaps a grudging respect. "How?" Wong whispered, still trying to breathe normally. "How did you do that?" Bruce didn't gloat or celebrate. He simply stood there, relaxed, his breathing calm as if he had just finished a light workout instead of a serious fight. "Master Wong," Bruce said respectfully, "you fought with great skill. Your techniques are excellent, but you fought the way you were taught 50 years ago. I fight the way that works today." Wong's students helped him to a chair. The old master sat down heavily, one hand still pressed against his chest. He had been hit before in his 10 years of victories, but never like this. Never with such precision and power from such a small movement. "Traditional kung fu is beautiful," Bruce continued, his voice gentle but firm. "I respect it deeply, but martial arts must evolve. Water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, Master Wong. Don't be so rigid that you break." Linda approached cautiously, offering Wong a glass of water. The old master accepted it with a slight nod, the first genuine gesture of humility anyone had seen from him. After several minutes of silence, Wong stood up slowly. His breathing had returned to normal, but his pride had been deeply wounded. He looked at Bruce for a long moment, then at the challenge letter still lying on the floor where someone had dropped it. "I underestimated you," Wong said finally. "You are not what I expected." Bruce bowed deeply, not a mocking bow, but a sincere show of respect. "You honored me by testing my skills. I hope you will understand why I teach the way I do. Martial arts should bring people together, not keep them apart." Wong didn't respond immediately. He gestured to his students that it was time to leave. But as he reached the door, he turned back one last time. "Perhaps," he said slowly, choosing his words carefully, "perhaps the old ways are not the only ways." Then he left, and Bruce Lee's school remained open. The fight lasted less than 3 minutes, but its impact lasted forever. Word spread quickly through the martial arts community. Master Wong, undefeated for 10 years, had been beaten by a single strike from a 24-year-old who taught foreigners. Some traditional masters were angry. Others were curious. But everyone was talking about Bruce Lee. What Wong didn't know when he walked into that school was that he wasn't just fighting a young martial artist. He was fighting the future. Bruce represented a new philosophy, one that took the best from every style and threw away what didn't work. He questioned everything, tested everything, and kept only what proved effective. This fight wasn't about who was stronger or faster. It was about 2 different mindsets: tradition versus innovation, rigidity versus adaptability, the old way versus the new way. Bruce would later say that this fight changed his entire approach to martial arts. He realized that even his modified techniques weren't enough. He needed to go further, to break completely free from traditional constraints. This realization would eventually lead him to create Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist, a martial arts philosophy that emphasized directness, simplicity, and personal expression over rigid forms. As for Master Wong, something changed in him that day too. He never publicly challenged Bruce again. Some say he continued teaching in San Francisco, but with a slightly different attitude, perhaps a little less rigid, a little more open to new ideas. The defeat had humbled him in a way that no victory ever could. The lesson here isn't just about martial arts. It's about life itself. How many times do we cling to old ways simply because that's how it's always been done? How often do we dismiss new ideas because they don't fit our traditions? Bruce Lee showed us that respecting the past doesn't mean being imprisoned by it. True mastery comes from taking what works, discarding what doesn't, and having the courage to create something new. If this story inspired you or made you think differently about tradition and change, show your support by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And tell us in the comments, do you think we should always respect tradition, or is it okay to break the rules when necessary? ***. Remember, be like water, my friends. Flow, adapt, and never stop learning.